Hey everyone, I am Yvette Lloyd, host of Life Her Podcast. We are live now on Life Her Podcast YouTube and Facebook. So make sure you go and subscribe and play back and watch all our amazing interviews. And we have another one coming up right after this at 9:30. You guys, I have an amazing guest with me. She has revamped her life and she started to rethink herself. And you know that is very, very important when people start tapping into themselves and getting to know who they are internally. And I would like to welcome back because she's been on the show before. I like to welcome back Tiara Riley. Hey T.
Hey, thank you so much for having me tonight and having me back. I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
Listen, we got some updates.
Girl, yes. So you already know me. I just get right to it. No beating around the bush. So tell me about who Tiara was before you actually got to rethinking your life and making a transition about yourself.
Yes. So the easiest way to describe how I was living before I made the decision to rethink pretty much everything is really the idea or the concept that you just make the most out of the cards you're dealt. Like you take the cards that you're dealt in life and you just make the most out of it. You may not like your job, but it pays the bills and you live life outside of work. You may not be fulfilled, but in your relationship, but nobody's perfect. And just really getting into this habit of accepting what you're offered in life and making it enough. And in my opinion, I think, especially for Black women, we are far too often conditioned, socialized, expected to just take whatever is given. And even like statistically, Black women are least likely to negotiate a salary offer. White men will go back and forth 15 times. Can I get a parking pass? Can I get a mileage reimbursement? They'll go back and forth about the dumbest things. But Black women take the first offer and be like, okay. And that's how we approach not only just professional and compensation, but I feel like that's how we approach a lot of areas in life. And that's who I was. I was just like, okay, well, I went to school. You get a job. As long as you don't hate your job, everything's okay. And really just making that, making the most out of what was. But I wasn't happy. I wasn't healthy mentally and emotionally. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I had kind of lost myself in motherhood, and in partnership and unhealthy relationships. And it just was not who I wanted to be, but I felt like it was the best version of what I had available to be.
So let's go more into losing yourself during motherhood because a lot of women, when you guys become mothers, it's not about you anymore, and your focus is so much on your babies, making sure they good and everything. What advice do you have to women that are in these situations right now, or even pregnant now and getting ready to become a mother?
Yes. The number one piece of advice I would give is mom guilt comes naturally, but mom grace takes daily application. You are going to feel your own guilt. You are going to be guilted on. People are going to shame you for whatever decisions you may make. But if you give yourself grace every single day, like I showed up, I did my best, I gave my kid my best effort. In most cases, that just has to be enough. There are some cases where, there are some bad mothers out there, but I don't think those are the women that are drawn to your podcast, right? So for the type of women that are drawn to this podcast, like give yourself that grace. And the other thing that I would definitely say that took me some time to kind of get in the habit of consistently is your kid comes first. And I truly believe your kids should come first. They did not ask to be in this world. They cannot fulfill their own needs. Your kids should come first. I think the problem is we forget to put ourselves second. And sometimes we're not even on the priority list. And that's where the problem is. So, yes, my kid is number one, but I'm number two. So, as long as her needs are met and being cared for, my needs are next in line. And I think that helps me create that balance. And so, what that might look like is if I have a trip opportunity, I make sure I put her with someone who is excited to spend time with her grandmother, her grandfather, her, aunts, whatever. But I make sure that the energy is right. Like there have been times where my mom, so she's an accountant, so there have been times during tax season where she's like, I mean, I can, but make sure you pack her tablet, make sure I'm gonna be distracted. And I'm like, no, 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 it's fine. And not that her grandmother doesn't love her, but I
Mhm.
want her to feel loved and excited. I want the energy to be, oh my God, I get to hang out with Kayla this weekend. Like that's
Right.
the energy I want her to walk in. And so she's not missing anything. She's hanging out with family and I get to go to Beyonce in Toronto.
Yeah,
Oh, it was a blast. But and that weekend I was in Toronto to see Beyonce with my best friend. That gave I'm still on cloud nine, clearly.
that's good.
But she spent a great weekend with my father. I mean, they went to the museum, they went to the zoo, they went to dinner and lunch and ate out and ate ice cream. She had a great weekend too.
That's
So
good.
I think it's less about so I say that to say, yes, your kids' priorities come first, but far too many really, really good moms get burnt out because they forget to put themselves on the list. And I am challenging you to not only put yourself on the bottom of the list, but you need to be number two. If you're married, maybe three, I'll let you work that out with your spouse. I'm not married, so I'm number two. um, but definitely, you need to be in your top five at worst, and work bet not come before you, because at the end of the day, happy parents make happy kids. And over the past year, I gave my kid the gift of a happy mom. She gets to see me fulfilled, she gets to see me happy and rested. And a lot of times when we go 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 and don't take breaks for ourselves, we end up burnt out, and now you're spazzing on your kid when that wasn't really necessary. And it's because you're tired. But your kid didn't tell you not to take a break. You
Right.
chose to sacrifice that break. And I'm telling you to stop it. Cut it out.
So basically, you pivoted your life to a point to create your own life.
Yes.
Mhm.
Intentionally
Yeah.
creating the life I love.
Yes. And then I've noticed that a lot, like throughout your whole conversation since you've been speaking, you have used the word love.
Mm.
Love, no, because it's like it's very rare that you hear people even mention love in any type of form of, besides telling a person that you love them.
Mm.
But creating a life with love, loving yourself, and pouring out love is totally different from you actually telling a
That
person
I
that
love
you
you.
love them, because it becomes such a habit of you saying that I love you to a person it's meaningful, but when you love yourself, it's a lot more meaningful.
Mhm.
When you
And
love,
I would even take that further and not even so loving others, which I think we always presume we mean romantic love, but I mean love in all areas. So loving your friends, loving yourself, loving your kids, loving your family, but also loving every area of your life.
yeah,
And if you don't love every area of your life, you are settling for something and not intentionally choosing it. Um, and I get why, so that's no judgment, but there's room for you to make intentional decisions. And sometimes what I've realized, especially when I'm working with our life coaching clients, is like step one is figuring out what you want. Like
right.
really sitting back and saying like, what do I want in my finances? What do I want professionally? What do I want romantically? What do I want my friendships to look like? What do I want personally, physically, mentally? I'm like really deep, like taking half a second to actually ask what you want. And once you come to that realization, and especially once you write it down, the universe starts making it happen. And all you have to do from there is make sure every decision you make from then on is aligned with what you actually want and not what's easy, not what's convenient. And there's going to be tough decisions and there's going to be tough, consequences of your choices. But the end result is you're happy. Like
Mm-hmm.
truly happy. And that kind of happiness that like the Bible says, a peace that surpasses all understanding, like that comes from being having joy. Happiness is circumstantial. Joy is I'm tired, I'm stressed, but you know what? Life is good. And
Mm-hmm.
to really mean that, not just a cute Instagram quote. You know what I mean? Like to really like walk in that and be like, oh, ain't nothing happened today, but it was a good day.
So how long did it take for you to like mentally transition into this mindset? Because it's difficult from you going one mindset to another when it's something that you haven't had as a habit. So, they say 21 days something will be consistently as a habit for us to continuously do these changes and make these things happen for ourselves. So when at that moment you have created it to be a habit for you to transition, and not only that, when did you actually see the problem to create a solution?
Yeah. So I would say I'm going to reverse that a little bit and say that I sought out problems.
Okay, got
So
you.
I looked at my life to say, like, what's going well, what's okay, but could be a little different, and what is just horrible. I got to cut it out. And so some of those areas, the things that are going well, I'm like, how can I be intentional about the things that are going well? So one of that for me was travel. How, yes, I like to travel, but how can I be intentional about that? So like my goal for this year was to travel quarterly. When I look back on 2022, I technically did travel quarterly, but it wasn't intentional because I wasn't thinking about it. I just looked back and was like, oh, I did travel once a quarter. But this year, I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna do this in Q1. I'm gonna do this in Q2. And really thinking about that.
Mhm.
Something that was okay, but not so great. I love the sport of competitive cheerleading. I've been an athlete my entire life, and then I transitioned to coaching. Love that. But now that I'm a mom, the practice schedule is too much. The season goes, it's a long season. It's 11 months. It's an 11-month sport as competitive cheerleading. And so I'm like, okay, I like cheer, and cheer makes me feel good about me as an individual, but it's too much time away from my kid. And so now I'm a cheer judge. And so my season is shorter. I don't have to deal with practice schedules. I ain't got to deal with teenage attitudes. I ain't got to deal with parents that don't want to bring their kids to practice on time. I just come, enjoy the fun part, which is just the competitions. It's
Right.
a 5, 6 month, it's like a 6 month season now because just the competitions versus like practices and camps and choreography and, all of this other stuff. And there's nothing during the week. And I get to tell them when I'm available versus the other way around. So I'm like, okay, yes, this is working, but like it works better this way. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yes, you look like you love it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. I'm like, I may never coach again. Cause at first I was like, okay, well, I'll judge for a couple of years. And then when my daughter's old enough, we can love it together. Right. Um, I'm like, I may never coach again. I don't see the upside anymore. I just don't. I just don't. And then some areas that were, I needed a complete overhaul was I did walk away from a relationship that was really toxic. I walked away from some friendships that were either one sided or really unhealthy. I walked away from a job. I was unemployed for 3 months while I looked for a new job simply because my mental health was worth it.
Wow. So at what moment did you realize that the relationship you were in and friendships, when did you realize that it was toxic and it wasn't for you?
It did get physical and it got physical. He got physical with my daughter. And that was the moment where I was like, oh yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go. And it's unfortunate that I didn't see it within myself and I didn't see the escalation. And the one thing about abuse is we always presume it's kicking and punching and black eyes and broken ribs. Um, but no man should be comfortable pushing you, shoving you, biting you, tossing you across the room. That shouldn't be comfortable for him. But because I didn't process it as abuse, and genuinely I wasn't afraid for my life in this particular situation, um, I didn't, I knew it was unhealthy, but I didn't view it as abuse. Right. But when
Mhm.
you look my 18-year-old and 18-month-old in the eyes and snatch food out of her hand because she didn't say thank you, um, I literally packed my bag that night. And when I came back a couple of days later, I was like, yeah, we're done. And you got to go. You got to go. And then walking away from that relationship gave me the freedom to, I'm like, if I could leave this person, anybody can go at this point. Like anybody can go. And so really just trying to and wanting happiness and wanting peace and wanting joy, and then realizing um again, once you decide what you truly want, every decision thereafter has to align with that. And so getting clarity on what I expect as a friend helps me to identify who didn't make that mark. And one example of like friendship that I think like elevated my standards. So my very best friend, we literally, our moms were pregnant together. So she's like A1 since day one. But she's my child's godmother and my very best friend. She doesn't live in the state, and she sent me for Christmas last year. She sent me a gift card to my favorite restaurant ever. And I'm like, it's a local restaurant. So I'm like, how's she even know? And she was like, you tweeted about it one day. Now, mind you, when she said it, I had no, I couldn't even think of the last time I tweeted about it. So to know that she saw the tweet, didn't engage with it, noted
Mhm.
it for reference, and then surprised me with it as a Christmas gift for the holidays. That's the kind of intentional friend I am.
Yes.
And that's how I showed love to my friend, like those little things. And like it just was a reminder that I deserve to be loved just as intentionally as I love others. And that became the standard. If I feel like I'm not getting reciprocity, if I'm the only one checking in on, if I'm checking in on you and you ain't checking in on me, and not tit for tat, like, well, I called you yesterday, you got to call me today,
Yeah.
not like that, but like overall, if I feel like I'm doing 90% of the work to maintain a friendship, it's not going to work for me. And I even had this conversation with one person because I just kind of like just fell off because I'm like, we'd have been down this road a couple times. We'd had this conversation a couple times. You know what I need as a friend. If you're not doing it, especially when I was in the hardest time of my life, like I don't know what to say. But when she circled back, I guess she noticed the distance. And I told her, I said, listen, I'm not gonna chase you. I'm not your man, and I'm not trying to be. I'm not about to chase you. If I have to reach out in order for us to speak, if I make plans for us to hang out and you're like, well, I can't because of this and I can't because of this, and make no alternative options, right? I'm not saying you got to be available when I'm available, but as adults, it's like, okay, if I say, hey, let's go out on Monday, ooh, I can't on Monday, but how about Wednesday? That's how somebody who wants to hang out with you responds. Not, well, I can't Monday and I can't Tuesday.
What about like I get what you're saying, but sometimes people don't know how to be that friend.
And that's okay. You just can't be my friend. That's okay. I don't hate you. I don't wish ill for you. I don't there's no
That's
hate
what
in
I'm
my
talking
heart.
about, like to a person that know what they want.
You hear me? You just not my friend. And that's
I'm
okay. If you cannot love me the way I need to be loved, that is okay. I release you. I don't I don't hate you. I still wish the best for you. One of the people that I had to release, we haven't talked in months, but I saw a job opportunity. I'm like, yo, this is perfect for you. Forward the email, moved on. We ain't got to reconnect, but I wish the best for you. It was like a remote job, high paid in her field. I said, boom, I ain't no hater. I don't hate you. I don't. I don't have space for hate in my heart, first of all. And that's the thing. Like a lot of people are, hesitant to forgive and holding grudges and things like that. And it's like, that's hurtful to you. That's negative energy in your space. I don't have no ill will. I don't have. There's not one person on this earth that I genuinely deep in my soul hate. I wish the best for everybody. It is what it is. I just don't need to be an active person in your life. And that's okay.
Yeah, I'm no like, and sometimes in friendships you will see people that are friends, and the details that your friend remember from you tweeting something, that is like really meaningful. It takes really
Mhm.
small things, because you could realize that you could be friends with somebody for so many years, but they never actually paid attention to the details of you, of your personal life. And it's like that a lot, because that's why you see a lot of people falling out in friendships and things of that nature, and then the lack of communication. When you can't go to your friend about an issue, but you could go to someone else, that doesn't read at all. You should be able to go to them because you talk to them every day. So now this one moment you can't talk to them about something, and then just paying attention to a friend, knowing they have good intentions or bad intentions, actually
Mhm.
knowing who they are, it's a
Mhm.
big difference, because
Mhm.
you can be in somebody's life and you really don't know them
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
you're just around them.
Surface friendships. And I just decided that doesn't work for me. And what I realized is, so after that conversation, first of all, I cried. Literally, I was in tears, like, oh
Yes.
my God, she remembered. How did she know this is my favorite restaurant? Boo hoo tears. But after that moment, I decided that was the level of friendship I wanted, right? I had never really sat and thought about what do I want in friendships before then. But I decided, I said, if this is my only friend, then so be it. If you don't meet this level of intentional love and safety and freedom, and you know, I've never felt too much for her. And
Mhm.
so she became the standard in my friendships, and I was willing to let her be my only friend if that's what it took. And what I realized is, and this is really true to the law of attraction, when you release the negative in an area of your life, the universe will replace it with positive. And
Yeah.
so that held true in my friendships. And I'm in awe, honestly, truly, because not even a year later, or just a little over a year later, I literally feel so overwhelmed with love and overwhelmed with healthy friendships. And so some people who were acquaintances, we got closer over the time. And then also there were some people that were new to my life who you couldn't have told me she ain't been in my life for 5 years. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so just really being willing to remove the negative, even though I didn't have the replacement yet, created space for the replacements to come. Because if you have friends, you have friends. But
Mhm.
if those friends are not healthy or not negative or not what you want, and you hold on to it because you're afraid to be alone, you don't leave space for newness, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so that's been hard for me as far as relationships, romantic relationships, because I'm like,
Time ticking.
what we got going on, but also recognizing that, and holding myself accountable too, right? If I truly was ready, he would show up.
Definitely.
If I genuinely was healed and healthy and whole, because I know my next relationship is going to feel safe, it's going to be intentional, and it's going to be healthy, and that's going to be my husband. Do you really want to invite your husband into your shenanigans?
Nah.
Not quite. You know what I mean? And yes, the person you're supposed to be with should be, down the ride through whatever. But like, we ain't got to start out the gate with the chaos. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, life is
It's
gonna give
like
you enough.
the attraction too, because you could be in a process of your healing, and whatever your spirit is at that moment, you will attract that spirit.
Mhm,
And we also have to learn how to release old soul ties. So
mhm,
you have to
mhm,
you have to literally just analyze your relationship patterns, the type of people you date. Do they love their mom? Are they family oriented? Do they have children? How do they treat their children? Like, you have to do a whole layout
Mhm.
viewing so many things and also viewing the things that you used to date in the past so that you won't make that same mistake, so you could find yourself having that peace that you've been looking for a while. And it takes time.
Mhm.
And even like in the first 90 days, you technically still have to get to know that person,
Yeah.
because patterns switch up, people switch
Mhm.
up. And right now, how the attraction is, as far as like everything that's going on in the world, people's demons are being irritated quicker than usual.
Mhm.
So when you're around people, they will begin to reveal themselves long as you are aware of your surroundings and aware of who you sitting in front of, and you've been paying attention to who they are and their patterns and stuff. It just takes a while for you to actually get in that process, but it takes for you to love yourself and know who you are, for you to be able to recognize these things too.
Absolutely. And I think the hardest part to swallow for a lot of people is the concept of you really are who you attract.
Yes,
And
definitely.
so I'm cautious about how you speak about ex relationships and all of that stuff because at some point you got to recognize the common denominator is you, right?
Hmm.
But that's a hard pill to swallow. Like if you always attract cheaters, it ain't all men are cheaters. It's something in you that's making it okay, right? And not necessarily from a victim blaming perspective, but also from an accountability perspective. The brokenness in you may be attracting the brokenness in the next person. And I know that for a fact in a number of relationships I've had. My brokenness attracted their brokenness, and we were broken together, and that's unhealthy. And so, although it is difficult to wait sometimes, and sometimes are more challenging than others to just be patient and wait for my person, I also have to hold myself accountable and say, well, if you want healthy, you got to show up healthy.
Well,
You
I
got
feel
to
like
attract healthy.
too, when you first meet someone, you need to put everything on the table. Like you have to say what you want, what you
Mhm.
don't want, what you like and what you don't like. And a lot of people don't take that time out to actually communicate. And I'm not talking about communication through the DM or communication through text or nothing like that. I'm talking about actually in person or on the phone type
Mhm.
organic conversations, because that's the only way you'll be able to get to know a person. I never understood the process of people getting to know each other through text because it's
Yeah.
impossible.
And I think even taking it a step back, yes, you should communicate upfront what you like and what you don't like, but how many people have taken the time to figure that out?
That's true.
You can't communicate what you don't know. And so, because we haven't taken time to be alone, to self reflect, to heal from the last relationship, a lot of people relationship hop because they're lonely, but that doesn't give you the space to get to know, okay, and reflect, what was my part in this situation? What could I do different? Did I miss any red flag? Like, even if you were perfect, at a minimum, you chose this person. So, what about where can you learn? Where can you grow? How can you do better? And then, even as you date and, I think we go to committed relationship a little too quick, like casually date for a little bit. And
Yeah,
then you can work on exclusive dating. Then you could be in a committed relationship and go from there. But really taking the time to get to know not just what your favorite color is and what your sign is, but what does your mental health practices look like? What does your self-care routine look like? What would you say are your green flags? What are your red flags, right? What are your goals? What do you want to do? What are you looking for?
exactly.
And really having those thought-provoking questions and really taking the time to just, I agree, it should be an upfront thing. I'm a very transparent person. What you see is what you get. And I have come to accept that I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm somebody's shot of tequila. The people who like me love me, and
Okay.
I'm good with that. I'm good with it.
So tell me what made you start the process of writing your new book,
Mhm.
Rethinking Me?
Yes. So this is book number 5. So writing a book is definitely something that I find therapeutic, but I also, the therapy for me is helping other people by just being honest about my story. But my Rethinking Me journey in general began, I was at lunch with my father, and he very casually mentioned that we were talking about from a work context, and he was like, well, you just got to figure out what you want. And I was like, okay. Because it was at the time where I'm like, I hate my job. I don't know how long I'm gonna make it. Like we were having that kind of conversation. And he said to me, he said, one of my hot buttons professionally is a commute to work. I hate commuting to work. So I either switch jobs or move. Like, but every job I've had since I've decided that I hate commuting to work, every job thereafter has been within walking distance. And that works for me.
Right.
And he was like, if I get a different job, then when my lease is up, I move to a different place that's closer and I can walk there. And I'm just a really extreme person in general. So when I'm like, well, if you can do that about commute to work, you can do that about anything. And it just like clicked for me.
That was
And I
it.
remember having that conversation in therapy because the two biggest areas that I knew needed to change or off jump was I needed a new job and I needed to find a different way to love cheerleading. And so I remember talking to my therapist about it, and I'm like, kind of feeling bad because feeling like I knew I needed to make the change, but I didn't have the time. Like we were in the middle of the competition season and it was a busy season at work, and it just felt wrong to just quit just because I had an awakening in the middle of the year, right? Um, and I remember her saying, she was like, just the fact that you feel capable of creating this life for yourself is a win. Like that's huge.
Yes.
Most people don't even feel capable of picking out their dream life. And so from that point, I kind of gave myself a little more grace and just really reflected on, every area of my life, but really tackling it one problem at a time. One thing people try to do is go from one extreme to the other and then also try to tackle 7 problems at once.
Yes.
And then you get overwhelmed and then you're like, well, this doesn't work. And they said 21 days and I'm on day 22 and I'm pissed off because it's not working. And it's like, well, okay.
And you try to do like 50 things at once.
Let's stick with 2, maybe 3, if I'm not being too greedy. But it's really just about, so one, making bite-sized steps. So I use this example often with clients. I'm like, if you're working on your physical health and you go to the gym 3 hours and you like, whoo, I did that, and then you never go again for the rest of the year, what really did you do? You know what I mean? Like, what really did we accomplish? But if you say, you know what, I'm gonna do 30 minutes a day, 4 times a week, and maybe not even starting at 4 times, maybe it's 2 times a week,
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes a day, twice a week. Do that for a couple of months. Then all right, I could do 3 times a week. Okay, Monday, Thursday, Saturday. Okay. Now you get in a rhythm. Now you get in a routine. And then you can go up to 4 times a week. So the goal is 30 minutes a day, 4 times a week, but don't start there. Because after
Mm-hmm.
1 week, you can be like, hated it.
Yep, I'm
You know what I
cool.
mean? I'm good on that. I'm gonna just stick to what I got going on over here. You gonna get whatever come in this bikini, okay? And you gonna like it. But the challenge with that is if that's an area of focus for you, are you really happy with it? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that everybody has to work out 4 times a week because some people genuinely don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
that's okay. You see what I'm saying? But for the people who, like, I think about there's someone in my life and it's like every other month we talking about I gotta work on my eating and I gotta get back in. I mean, it's literally like clockwork. Every 60 days we having this full-fledged conversation. And because I'm a life coach, you want me to walk you through it. And I'm like, okay, but what'd you do with the last bit of information we didn't walk through? You know what I mean?
like you would talk about something for so long, but it has to be a point in your life when you be like, all right, let me actually do this. Like somebody has to be the one be like, okay, come on, let's go.
But what did you do?
Yeah.
Because do or do not, there is no try.
Yeah.
There is no try. There is no, it really, you can have the best laid plans in the world and it don't mean diddly squat if you don't actually do it. So like with our company, we have a 3-step process. It's plan it, it's unpack it, plan it, do it. So first you got to unpack the baggage, figure out what you actually want in life. Then we come up with a concrete plan for it, but then we walk you through the process to actually do it and hold you accountable. And really that third step is the game changer because once you start creating those habits, and also we challenge our clients to make action-based goals, not just, or, habit-based goals, not just like, if your goal is, let's say, I want to save $1,000, instead of saying I want to save $1,000, maybe the goal should be I'm gonna save 5% of my income every check. That's
Mm,
a habit,
yeah.
right? You'll get to the $1,000, but then you can continue to save and you won't be in a situation where you're constantly needing to save insert amount here, right? So really looking at those habits that you can develop over time that will get you to the life that you want, where you don't have to think about saving. You just, oh, emergency came up, cool, cool, cool. Trip came up, cool, cool, cool. It's already sitting there waiting for you. And that is like that for whatever your goal is. Like, how can we make this a habit based goal where you can say, okay, I get paid twice a week. If you need to save it by a certain amount, like let's break that down by how many checks you're receiving, right? Like I get a specific timeline is needed, but creating that habit gets you to the life that you want, not just that short term goal.
What's so crazy is when you think about doing things for yourself as a short term or long term goal, or just you transitioning things and trying to create a habit into a positive life or the life that you want, as you say, dream life. We have a hard time doing things for ourselves, but when it comes to somebody else, we just Johnny on the spot. Like we able to accomplish it, get it done, everything, and it's really to a point where it becomes sad for real. Like it'd be really sad, and if you really just sit down and just analyze your life and think about what effort have you put into you the same
Mm-hmm.
way you have done for others.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while for me to even realize that myself.
Mm-hmm. It's that's real. And I think that's the secret sauce of a life coach. Like we don't do magic tricks. We don't, come pull a rabbit out of our hat and be like, "Ooh, here goes your goal."
Right,
I
right.
think the secret sauce of a life coach is accountability. Somebody's digging in your business and somebody's going to check. If you said you was going to save, 5% of your check and you get paid every 2 weeks and we meeting every week, I know when to ask, how did your saving plan go? If you said you working out 3, 4 times a week, we meeting every week.
Yeah.
How's your fitness plan going? If you said, even for your business, like a lot of times we set goals like, I want to get X number of clients. That's a cute goal, but like, what's the action behind that? Every day, I'm going to reach out to 5 potential clients. That's something you can hold yourself accountable to. That will eventually get to your number of clients that I want to get goal. But, we focus on the goals that are cute and Instagrammable, but like,
Yeah.
the work is done in setting the correct type of goal and then actually putting action behind it.
That's so true. And just even just creating these goals and trying to stay consistent with them, it become hard.
Hmm.
But just think how easy it'll come once you keep doing it and be consistent about it, and then it becomes a habit.
Hmm.
You could create another habit behind that. But the greatest thing of it all is just you creating peace within your life. Like,
Woo,
you,
woo.
yes, and it's so dope because when you create that peace in your life, you've tried. No, not even gonna say try, but you start to see things falling into place.
And do.
How
And do.
you been really wanting it to happen, and
And
you be
do.
like, man, all this all I had to do all this
And
time.
that's the thing for me because it got to the point where I stopped setting 5 year goals because the thing that we keep saying for 5 years, I'm like, if you actually bust your butt in that area, you could
Mhm.
get there in a year or two.
Yeah.
But your brain can't even. So I just stopped setting them altogether. People are like, oh,
Yeah.
what's your plan in the next 5 years? Listen, whatever God tell me it's gonna be, that's what it's gonna be. But for today, this is what I'm working towards. And that's the other thing too, like especially trying to be intentional about my relationship with God and letting Him be, in the driver's seat. He could take me from one extreme to the other. That's not my business. What is my business is being obedient to what He told me to do today.
Hmm. Yes, and that's when you start to see life changing within yourself. That's so much, and it's. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, it's a beautiful feeling, and you know how you have zero tolerance when it comes to friendships, and how you want as a friend. That is like so important because
Mhm.
a lot of times you won't be blessed until those certain people is out your life too, and you'll be like, I wonder why is this happening, why is this? It's because it's still things that's going on in your personal life where
Mhm.
you need to shift it for you to actually see and receive the things that are supposed to be for you,
That
because
part.
you have things that's not for you.
That
and
part.
it and it's hard, and it's hard for people to recognize it because they're not surrounded by people that can help them help themselves too.
Mhm.
And you have to be willing to accept what that person is saying and not take offense of it, to a point. I'm here to help you elevate, not here to make you feel worse.
Yeah, yeah. And it's hard because you have to have that kind of low, not zero tolerance, but low tolerance in
Yeah.
every area of your life, really. Like even when I think about like professionally, I've reached a point where remote is a requirement. I'm not coming into your office just because you want to look at my face. Set up a Zoom meeting. Like I'm just not doing it anymore. Now that I've experienced it. And even, in travel, I've reached a point where I will only fly Southwest. You know what I mean? Like there's just certain things that I'm like, you know what? If I can't make it on Southwest, I can't make it. I can't make it. You know what I mean? Like, but I promise you, I'm not getting on some of these alternatives. I don't care if it's free. You can't pay me to get on some of these cheap airlines. I can't do it. You gonna mess around and get me on a no-fly list. I won't do it. I just won't do it. And so just really being clear about what I want and walk. And it takes self-confidence and self-awareness to know what I want and to know that it's okay to only accept what I want. Um,
Mhm.
and that's a process and it takes healing and it takes, I've been in therapy for a long time, just really dealing with some of that unpacking stage of it. But it is worth it. It's worth it because when you look up and you're like, you know what? Life really is good. Like every area, I'm literally in the point where every area except romance is good.
Yeah.
And romance ain't bad. So you know what I mean? Like it ain't a negative. It's just, currently ended.
No.
Just currently no. But I genuinely feel like now that I've gotten my entire life in a good space, I'm actually available to meet the good person who deserves the peace that I'm walking in, who deserves the healthy version of me. Um, and so I just had a birthday recently, and I've decided my man gonna find me this year.
Okay.
Okay, he
Okay.
gonna find me this year. Okay, I don't know where he at. Maybe he listening, maybe he not. It's a female podcast, but tell your brother, cousin, not uncle, Andre,
That's you
but
doing shout outs.
you know what I mean. Like tell him all at me, okay?
You was crazy, dear.
I'll make sure you invited to the holidays too. Come on over, sis. We can be friends.
You was a mess. So what do you want people to gain and develop from purchasing your book and also your journal?
Yes, I just really want people to live a life they love. I genuinely do. And I want that, if I may specify, I want Black women to live a life they love. I really
Yeah.
do. I'm on a mission for Black women to stop settling in different areas of their life and really go after the life they love because it's accessible. And even with me, like, I've been on my journey a little under 2 years, but I've been on like actively working towards it for just about a year.
That's
And
dope.
life has been, it only took, since I got intentional about it, it only took like 4 or 5 months for me to be like, yo, I like this life. Wait a minute. Look, wait, ooh, this feels good. I like it here.
90
Uh,
days to see him.
yes, like, oh, girl, you just be like, "Ooh, I'm happy. Oh, what that feel like? You know what I mean? Because it's new. It's new. It's new.
Yeah,
It's new, but it took about 4 or 5 months of intentional effort. And that was with me just tackling it. When we work with our clients, we see tangible differences in about 90 days.
that's good.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
hmm And so that's the mission and vision, with the book, with the, with the coaching services, with the journal, with, different events that we're having. It's always with the mission and vision of living a life you love. That's
Mm.
it. That's the post.
And that's
That's
it.
it. Live the life you love. And if you don't love every area of your life, there's room for improvement.
So tell me about the event that you hosting.
Yes. So our upcoming event, I'm very, very excited about it. So it is an in-person event, but we are buying Black the block. Okay. So we are doing a pop-up shop for Black-owned businesses, Sunday, November 26th at 2 p.m. in Odenton, Maryland. So if you visit rethinkingme.com, rethinkingmellc.com/BBTB by Black the Block. You will see all of the different vendors that we have, but all of them are Black owned businesses. Come do your Christmas shopping and support Black owned businesses.
That is
And it's
beautiful.
free to attend, and we're giving a goodie bag, so it's free to attend. You get a goodie bag. I only have a handful of vendor tables left, so if you're interested in that, snag that ASAP. But it's completely free to attend. We just ask that you RSVP so that you can we can have enough bags for everybody.
I know that's right. So
Yeah.
so in closing, what advice do you have for someone that is rethinking their life and trying to transition into a more peaceful and positive and impactful life that they want to set for themselves?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice is rooted in the reality that everything you have is a reflection on what you believe you deserve. Not on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level.
That's true.
The law of attraction is real, and your subconscious thoughts, your words, your actions, they are all drawing what you decide you want. And all you have to do is decide different, and magically different will arise. It's not automatic, it's not overnight, but if you are consistently focused in one particular direction, it will show up. It will show up when you just gotta ask, believe, receive. And that really is true. A lot of times we say what we want, but we believe we can't have it. And we don't our actions align with the thought that we can't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we gotta get our minds aligned with what we actually want, and we gotta get our hearts aligned with that, and then start
That's
moving like it. Start moving like it.
true.
I remember at the start of 2020, I decided that was gonna be my year for love. I forgot to put safe and healthy love, but that was my year for love, right? And literally, I would sleep on the same side of the bed. I emptied half the drawers, I emptied half the closet, and it was like a walk-in closet. And I literally emptied the half of the closet that I could see walking past it, so that every time I saw the empty closet, I was reminded, he's coming, he's coming, he's coming. May, an old relationship rekindled, and I was pregnant by July. You just got to be clear and specific about what you want. But baby, when you tell the universe what you want, it shows up.
I know that's
And
right.
we were living together by November.
I know that's right.
The law of attraction works. You, again, you just got to get some specificity and clarity. So now when I say my man gonna find me, I don't know if you heard me earlier, but I said it's gonna be intentional, it's gonna be safe, it's gonna be healthy. I learned. Okay,
Yes.
my man is finding me in the next 12 months. I promise you,
Okay.
it's happening.
I'm gonna be looking.
Okay, listen, let me tell you. I'm be like, and it's here. Y'all gonna be sick of me. My man, my man, my man. Y'all gonna be
Oh
sick of
my
me.
god.
Y'all gonna be sick of me. Prepared to be sick of me. But no, I say that to say what you put out there is what will come. And not necessarily what you verbally put out there, but like if you're constantly tweeting all men are dogs and all men ain't, that's what you're gonna attract. If you're engaging in content, I hate my baby daddy, that's you're gonna continue to hate your baby daddy. You know, it's really about and being mindful about even the smallest things like your social media, like the content you engage with in social media, your algorithm is telling what your subconscious is fixated on. Whatever
Yeah,
you see a lot of is because the algorithm is working. Like we understand algorithms conceptually, but your soul has an algorithm and that's what you attract into your life. So what you focus on is what you begin to attract to you. So just be mindful of that. And that takes intentionality and it takes you saying like sometimes it'll come out and you're like, but actually I suck with money. But you know what? I'm learning better habits. I'm applying
yeah,
that to my life. And I'm just going to trust the process. It's not about lying to yourself, it's about reshaping your reality to focus on what you want.
be truthful.
Be truthful and genuinely feel it, but focus on what you want as opposed to what you don't want. Like when you talk about your financial goals, it's not, I want to get out of debt. I want to get out of debt. I want to get out of debt. The subject of that sentence is debt. That's what you're attracting. What you really want is I want financial freedom. I want the ability to finance the life of my dreams. I want to be able to travel every quarter. Everything else is working itself out. Right? Do you see what I'm coming from? Like focus on what you want in
What
this
you
world
mean.
and stop saying what you don't want. Because the universe doesn't hear want, don't want. It just hears the subject. And it's like, cool, debt. Cool, cheating. Cool, stress. Cool, overweight. Cool, broke. You know,
Yeah,
cool, I hate my job. Cool, my boss sucks. It's just throwing it right back at you. But you gotta be mindful of what you're focusing on.
you do. You
Mhm.
really do. Well, thank you, Tiara. I
Thank
really enjoyed
you.
tonight.
Yes, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you too. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight on Life Heard Podcast. Don't forget to go on YouTube to subscribe and follow us on Facebook and like our page so you can catch up on interviews. Watch our upcoming interviews. I interview every Monday and Wednesday. So come check your girl out. Thank you, y'all. Have a good night. Peace.